Hello and welcome to the ETC Guitar YouTube channel. This video, I'm going to hopefully show what kind of tech I want to be. So this amp you might recognize. This is an early 60s Fender Super 6G4. And I did a whole series on this amp, bunch of videos, and I'll put in the description a link to the playlist so you can watch all those videos if you're curious. And it is back here on my workbench. Why is it here? Well, so the owner shipped me this amplifier, and I obviously shipped it back to him. And basically, immediately, he started having some issues with the amp. And over some time, we eventually discovered that they were all tube related. So he was having some preamp tube issues, some very weird behavior where the amp was just not producing any sound at all, cutting in and out, making weird noises, etc., etc. Really hard to try and troubleshoot over the phone. And I had him swap some tubes around, and basically swapping in some different preamp tubes seemed to cure that issue all as well. And then more recently, I got a text from him pointing out that one of the tubes was red plating. And so I had him swap the tubes between the two tube sockets and to see if the red plating followed the tube socket or the tube. And it stuck with the tube socket. So the tube that was not red plating was now red plating when he swapped them. So that points to not the tube necessarily, but the tube socket itself, which is this one in particular. So as soon as as soon as he mentioned this issue, the red plating, immediately my thought was, okay, I need this amp back in my hands and I need to make it right. So that's what I'm doing here. I had the owner ship it back to me, and we will work through this, and he will receive an amp that is working perfectly as intended, as expected. I will rectify any issue I find, and you guys will see all of the work, as always. So immediately, my thought process of what it could be would be these two caps right here. So these are the coupling caps after the phase inverter, and then this is the bias supply right here. And then these two eyelets under the board. There are these two wires which then go to the grids, which is pin 5 of the two 6L6 tubes here. So what can happen is if these are leaking DC voltage, so there's DC voltage here, if they're leaking DC voltage, they'll have DC voltage on this side, which will then affect the bias supply going to the grids of the two power tubes there. Now, the goal of this amp, you might be looking at it if you're new to this amp and the work I did to it going, well, what work did you do? It looks like it's all original. Well, that was the point. That was the goal there. So all of these caps have been stuffed with brand new components inside of them. The only real giveaway would be the 3-prong here, and then also this adjustable bias pot that we added. So, but every other thing that's been touched has been, stuffed in the caps or new old stock resistors swapped in, just like it would have had originally. This resistor was swapped. The 3-prong we did. The bias supply, all of the electrolytics, and then everything in the doghouse as well was worked on. And I am really proud of the work I did to this amp. I'm still proud of it today, even though it's back on my workbench. This was a labor of love. I put a lot of love into this amp, and I'm devastated for the owner that it's back, that he has to ship it back to me. It's frankly embarrassing, and I'm not happy about it, so I want to make it right. Now, one stipulation I did tell the owner is I will take the amp back, but he will not receive it with any Astrons left in it. So even if they tested okay, I can't risk it. I tested the Astrons. They seemed okay to me, but obviously these two are not okay. And these others, could be not okay very soon as well. So we're just going to replace all of them. I'm not going to risk it. So we are going to lose that one side of the originality there. But it is what it is. The owner plays this amp, and that is a priority. So every single Astron in this amp will be replaced. We are going to be using these Vishay NKT 1813, something like that. And I happen to have two that will be replacing these two caps. And then I have to order all the other ones. And then the owner did also order a couple Jupiter caps to test that we might do a little tone comparison over in the tone stack here. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan, the starting plan, and then we will just make sure everything else in the amplifier is 100% before sending it back. So first up, let's see what the bias is at the tap itself. So we're getting about negative 52 volts there. Let's go ahead and see what's happening here. So negative 50.7. So we are getting a, 1.2-ish volt difference there. Here might be a bit different. It's the same. So that's from this point right here. So I think what we'll do is we'll just let this sit and see if this changes over time. Well, we're about 2 hours later now, and I've been measuring off of the pins here, pin 5. This is where the bias supply is going to the tube socket. This one right here is for this one for this tube socket. This left tube socket right here was the one where the owner saw the red plating. And we do see it is a very, very slight difference to this. We're seeing negative 50 volts here, negative 49.8 roughly here. So it's been about 0.2 volts difference, which is very, very minor. And really, I'm struggling to grasp why this would red plate and this one wouldn't if they're that closely linked to each other. But we have noticed a slight decrease in voltage. See right here, yeah, negative 51 is what the bias supply is. So, we're not a million miles from that. So basically we're about 1.2 volts roughly, a drop. So that would, make me think that potentially there is a little bit of leakiness happening here. But it's very slight, but it does seem like it is slowly decreasing. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and throw in a couple tubes in it and check the bias really quick, see where we're at, and then we'll just leave it on for even longer and kind of see if that starts to be even more clear that's the issue. Regardless, these caps are being replaced, so whether these are leaking enough to cause the issue or not, they are getting replaced, so that will be fixed. But I just want to have a baseline here. Let's go ahead and grab some tubes and the tube bias probe and see where we're at. Nope, that's exactly 60%. So effectively biased perfectly how I would have done it. So it's worth noting the differences too between the sockets here. So we were seeing a 0.2 volt difference without the tubes in it. Now we're seeing roughly a 2 volt difference, which is not insignificant between the tube sockets here. So this tube socket would be hotter than this tube socket by about 2 volts, I guess pending tubes. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure why we would only see that that big of a difference when the tubes are in it, whereas with no tubes in it, we're only seeing 0.2 volts. So I've never seen that before, but regardless, the hotter tube socket is still biasing perfectly with my 5881 tubes. So I'm not really sure there. Let's go ahead and grab the owner's 5881s and see if that gives us a clearer picture here. So these are running a bit hot, 76.5. We can easily make it cooler. Simple bias adjustment there. You can see we're still got about a 2 volt differential between the two tube sockets. And both of these resistors to the 220Ks measured about the same. And we're back. It's now been a little over an hour with this set of tubes on the amp. And we can see that the plate voltage and plate current has changed. It has drifted so that we are now definitely biased hotter than we were before. I ran the numbers and we're right about 80%, just a hair under 80% plate dissipation. When we started this test an hour ago, we're at 60%. So we have gained, I think we're roughly about 60% if I remember correctly. So we've gained about 20%. We're still nowhere near red plating territory. And a lot of people set their Fender amps around 75% plate dissipation, but very clearly this is not behaving correctly. And we can look squarely at these two Astrons for leaking a little bit of DC voltage, which over time seems to be compounding into a enough of a change to really affect the bias over time. So I imagine if we keep the amp on for another, I don't know, maybe 2 hours with the tubes in, maybe we'll start getting towards red plating territory. I'm not really sure. The amp has been on for 3 hours straight basically so far, but only one of those hours has had these tubes in it. So I'm not sure how that would affect it exactly, but either way, these two Astrons are gone. So no big deal. All of the Astrons, in fact, are gone, like I mentioned before, but these two will be affecting the bias, and replacing those two will fix this, I'm confident. And we will do some long burn-in tests to confirm, just to make sure there's no other issues. But yeah, so I think we can go ahead and end here tonight, and I will pick it up tomorrow. I need to order parts. We had a little miscommunication with the owner and myself as far as who was ordering the Astrons. He did order some caps, but not all of them. So I will be making that order. I do have 2.1s ready to go, though, so we'll swap those in ASAP. Do our test to confirm that fixes that issue, and then we'll kind of go from there. Probably pick this series up in a following video once the rest of the caps arrive. So yeah, that's where we're at. We'll get this right for the owner, for sure. It's the next day, and we are here to replace these two caps. So I've got these Vishay 0.1s. These are 400 volt caps. They're not going to be the permanent replacements for these two caps. Instead, we have 630 volt versions, just a bit more power headroom going in these spots. So for now, we'll install them there, and then we'll probably move them over to here and here in these 200 volt positions, just to have, again, a bit more headroom there for us. But for now, we can do the testing with that here. So we'll be installing one here and one here. You can see the size difference as well. One thing I would love to play with is maybe trying to stuff these Astrons at some point. The owner, I believe, wants all of these back with the amp, so I don't think we'll be able to test it in this case. But someday, I think it would be kind of fun to try and stuff the Astrons, because they do have a very iconic look to them. And the new caps just don't quite have the same look. Your mileage may vary. So we'll go ahead and get to work here. I'll probably skip through a lot of this stuff since you guys will have seen all of the work on this amplifier already. And if you haven't, again, go in the description. But let's just go ahead and swap those over, and we'll test to confirm that the issue has been solved, which I'm almost positive it will have been. Cool, so that will be good enough for us to do our testing here. Just like we did last night, we'll do some long-term testing with the tubes in, make sure the bias is now stable. So we'll go ahead and get that set up and let the amp run for a while. So if you remember, we were looking at, I believe when we started this, after adjusting the bias, we were at about 460 plate voltage and 30 for plate current. So let's give it a little bit of time to warm up. And we can see we're measuring right off of the grid here, pin 5 of the tube socket that was red plating for the owner. Same exact tube that was red plating for the owners in that socket as well. We're showing negative 55 right now, which is pretty cool. So we're hovering right at about 50% right now. So we can go ahead and stand to warm up that bias a little bit. We want plate current be a bit closer to about 30 there. So we'll go ahead and turn this. So now we're roughly where we were before, 464.30. This should give us about 60, I'm gonna guess 62%, let's see. 60.5%. So this is a pretty good spot to be at. Negative 51.4, it's pretty much where we were at before. So we'll just kind of let this sit for a while and come back to it. And we're back about an hour later. Looks like our multimeter here turned off. So everything looks basically exactly as we left it, which is what I expected. I was 99.9% sure this would be the problem and the fix, and that appears to be the case. So yeah, good lesson for me. I know I'm going to get a bunch of I told you so's in the comments. Hey, I learned, and I will not be leaving any Astrons in the phase inverter here, these coupling caps, ever again in the future, even if they appear to test fine. Same with all these other Astrons. You know, I showed testing them on video and they tested okay, but we're going to replace them because it's not worth the risk, especially to an amp that is being shipped out. So lesson learned on my part. And again, I apologize to the owner for that. So we'll let it run for another hour just to be fully sure, just like it was yesterday. Ran for about 2 hours with the tubes in it. We'll do the same with the new coupling caps here, just to be, you know, 100%. And then from there, we'll just wait for the new caps to come in to replace the rest of the Astrons. We'll look at everything again with a fine-tooth comb, fix any other little pieces, button up a couple other things, and get this back to the owner ASAP. So we'll end here unless in these 2-hour checkup, something changes dramatically. I don't anticipate that. So this will probably be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to follow along. And until next time, see you guys.